Hey guys, let's go ahead and install Redux toolkit in our front end. So Redux is nothing but managing the state globally. Okay, so there are two types of state. One is a local state, which is only limited within the particular component. Okay, like for example, in our front end header, and we have this component level state. That is, we have made use of this use state, which is only limited within this component, and when we want to pass state to other components, we need to pass it in the form of props. All right, so I hope you know what is props, and like how we like pass in information from one state to another. But when we want to manage global level state, we also have other options. Okay, like we have the context API, also we have the recoil libraries. Okay, so we can just go ahead and do that. But Redux is a very popular package, and it is best suited for when we are building such large applications. All right, so let's now go ahead and install Redux toolkit. But before that, I would like to tell you why we are not using the just the plain old Redux, because currently it is deprecated, because we used to have a lot of boilerplate code, manage all this sort of creating actions, reducers. But here we can create easily something using slices. Okay, so slices are nothing but a level, like we can create a product level slice orders for users, so that we can manage state accordingly. So in using Redux toolkit makes it a lot easier. We'll also be using something called Redux toolkit query, where we will be managing different kinds of API requests to the backend. It has a lot, so many features, same like React query. Whenever we are fetching, it will give us the loading state, and when the promise is actually fulfilled or rejected. So we don't have to do all that manually. So everything Redux toolkit does out of the box. All right. So now let's go ahead and install Redux toolkit, and also we'll be bridging the gap between Redux and our React project. Okay, Redux is not only just limited to React, but we use mostly with React, but we can also use it with plain old JavaScript files. All right, to manage our state. So if you click on get started, it will show you the documentation, okay, how to use and everything. So this actually explains better than what I actually to have explained. I have just explained, just given you this the overview. So it gives you the steps what you can do with Redux toolkit. All right, so it tells us that we need to install this within our working directory. So let's copy that, and let's go to our terminal. All right, and let's open it up and go to the client directory. So make sure you do that, and let's install the package, that is at the rate redux.js slash toolkit. Okay, and also we'll be installing React Redux. Okay, React Redux. Okay, let's install that, and let's wait until it finishes. So now that's done. Let's now go to our source folder and create a file over there called store.js. So this is basically contains the state of our entire application, which we will be configuring within this store.js. So we will be importing all of the slices, okay, that we create, that we will be creating, and later we'll be yeah, exporting this, attaching this to the main.jsx file. All right, so now let's import a couple of things. Like let's import the configure store that redux.js slash toolkit provides us. So configure store. Okay, so it's not showing me any suggestions for some reason from uh, at the rate redux slash redux.js slash toolkit. So now let's create a variable called store. Okay, and set that equal to configure store that we imported. And this actually has an object, so which is a function actually which takes in an object of reducers. Okay, so which we will be adding it later. So for now, let's keep this empty. We just want to have a look at what this actually does to our application. All right, so now let's export store, export default store. Okay, now let's go ahead and connect this to our main.jsx file. All right, so now so this is our main.jsx file. We have this entire thing which is actually connecting to the React DOM. All right, so we just need to wrap the router provider which is actually rendering this our whole application. All right, so let's bring in provider first of all right, so here import provider from not from React but React Redux. Okay, so now let's wrap this inside a provider and then pass in the store. Okay, so store equals, okay, and the store that we need to bring in. Okay, let's auto import that. Okay, so that's done, and let's close this slash provider. Okay, so that's done. What's okay, so now let's go ahead and have a look. So there is a popular extension called Redux DevTools. You can just view your entire global state. Okay, from this from the Developer Tools tab. Okay, you'll have a Redux DevTools tab where you can you can have a look at various types of requests that is being made and also your application state. Okay, so what does your actually what does this particular component state contain, and like what is the difference when we make a change. So all that we can have a look using this Redux DevTools extension. Okay, so you can go ahead and install this. I already have it. So now let's start our server and have a look. All right, so let's go to our root directory. Okay, and start the server. So now our application has started, and you see once you have installed the Redux DevTools extension, you'll have a extra tab over here. If you don't see it, it will be somewhere in this drop down. Okay, so once you click on that, it will show you this interface where if it looks something like this, which means that your everything is configured well, and currently I do not have any state. Okay, so it will show you the different states, okay, that you actually created using the slice, okay, from Redux toolkit, okay, that we will be creating soon for a product, so that we can have a state for the product, and subsequently we'll be doing the same for users and orders as well. So now let's create a constants file within our source directory. All right, so that this will actually contain all of our all of our endpoints. Okay, so that we don't have to type them every single time. So we have our constants.js. So let's create a variable for base URL. Okay, so the base URL is basically the proxy, okay, that we already set up in our earlier video, that is localhost 5000. All right, so we can set this to an empty string for the moment, and later when once we are in production, we can set that back to some other value. All right, so base underscore URL, and for the development purposes, I'm just going to keep this an empty string, and later we can fill this value with the URL or the domain name, whichever we have deployed this application to. All right, and also we'll have a variable for backend URL. Oops, backend URL, and set this to http colon slash slash localhost. Okay, this is 5000. Okay, so basically whenever we want to manually fetch from the backend, so by default it will be something else. Okay, so if it doesn't work, then we'll use this backend URL. Okay, so let's now create our users URL. Okay, not users, products. Okay, later we'll be creating the users as well. So products underscore URL, and set that to slash API slash products. Oops. Okay, so we are done for the constants.js file. Now let's create another folder over here for the slices. Okay, so this will have the component level state as well as the request that we'll be making. Okay, now what I want to do is I will create a file called API slice. Okay, so this will be the parent slice, okay, for making all the different requests, like when you're making a slice for product, okay, products API slice, and as well as for the users and orders. So this will be the parent. Okay, so whenever, so this whole thing will be connected to the store.js, and it will it will make such kind of requests. All right, so let's import few things from redux.js slash toolkit. Okay, this time it's coming from query. Okay, so let's call it fetch, not call it, okay, this is constants, fetch base query, and also we want to import create API, and that will be coming from uh, at the rate redux.js slash toolkit slash query, okay, slash, and then react. All right, so then we want to import our base URL. So import base underscore URL. Okay, first of all, did we export all these? No, sorry, I didn't export these, so my bad. Export, okay, the same for all. Okay, so that's done, and let's import this from dot slash, where is it coming from? Dot slash actually. So that is coming from constants. All right, so we don't have to use JS because by default it is using ES6 modules. Okay, so let's create a variable for the base query. Okay, and set that equal to fetch base query that we actually imported, and set the base URL to this particular value. All right, so we are done with that, and now let's finally create our API slice. So I'm going to export this const API slice, okay, and set that equal to create API, okay, that we actually imported. And this is a function with an object where which we will be passing in the base query. All right, and we can actually do this base query, since this is a ES6, we can actually just remove that. Okay, so now we can specify a tag types. Okay, so basically we'll be giving tags, okay, for every slice that we create. Okay, so and set that to an array. Okay, so this will basically create consist of various slices which will be giving tags. Okay, so we'll be having one for product, user, and order. So for now we will give it product. Okay, and the endpoints we will be this is basically a function, so this is the entry point for every request we actually make. Okay, so this is actually a function which takes in the builder object. Okay, we can call this anything, but builder is the actual convention. All right, so this is the entry point, okay, where we make various requests. Okay, later we will get to know what this actually does, and yeah, so we are basically done with our API slice. I know this might seem a little bit confusing because this is just a boilerplate code. Okay, so for every application you create, so you don't have to type this out every, like you just need to copy and paste it for every single application, and we just need to import all of the slices and just configure them accordingly. All right, so that's it. Even though if it is confusing, so don't worry about it. We will be getting through it step by step, and once we start creating our endpoints, okay, such that it fetches the particular products or anything, so we can actually, you will, everything will make sense at that time. All right, so now let's import that, import create API, not this API slice. Okay, so now let's pass this inside this reducer object. Okay, so this will have a dynamic value of API slice dot reducer path. Okay, so these are the various reducers that we create, that is for the products, users, and orders. Okay, so and that will be equal to that API slice reduce dot reducer. Okay, so in the previous when you are using the plain old Redux, we have to import all of the reducers, and just this used to be a very big object by then, so this makes it very dynamic and easy to use. All right, and now I just want to pass in the middleware. Okay, and this is basically a default get the default middleware. Okay, that is coming with this Redux toolkit. Get default middleware. Okay, and this is basically a function, okay, where we are going to concatenate the API slice middleware. All right, so get default middleware, which is a function which we need to invoke it and concatenate. Okay, this is a method in JavaScript, so nothing much fancy. All right, so create slice API slice dot middleware. Okay, so that's done, and also finally we need to give the permission for using DevTools. Okay, and set this to true. Okay, so we are done. Okay, so finally let's go ahead and test this out. Okay, so you can see right now uh, we have this tab for API, so that we can make any queries. Okay, so queries are nothing but getting static information from the database, and also mutations which actually make a change when you like update, create, or making any kind of like post request. Okay, or like something deleted or anything like that. So you can just go through it one by one, and we won't be using much of this, only a few of them. All right, so we have an error here. What is it? Use context. Where have we actually imported? Okay, so the error was just because I didn't refresh. So sometimes during development, when I save the files, so without incomplete progress, so that will basically show some errors like that. So only thing is we just need to refresh, so we don't have to panic for that. All right. So we are done for the video. So in the next video, we will be creating a product API slice, so that we will be fetching all of the products, okay, that we have in our home screen. Okay, we are basically using Axios, so we'll be using the Redux toolkit query. Using that, we will be making the request. All right, so that we can have a more elegant way of making requests. All right, so let's do that next.